Hey, what up? This is Zach Guilford from Midnight Mass, and you're listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody, I figured we would start off this pod talking about like what I feel we have to talk about, but only because it's crossed over into pop culture.
It has.
I had no plans on talking about the Donald Trump assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't going to talk about it unless there was something relevant to our podcast. But I felt like I was looking for something as well too, because it just seems super relevant just to culture as a whole that we should talk about it. And because maybe I have something to say in regards to it that is important, that may be relevant to the listeners. I know that was a bad explanation. I feel like I was all over the place there, but let's start by talking about the pop culture side of it, and we can get into what I want to say.
Okay.
Does that work? So in the last couple days, we're recording this on a Wednesday. This all happened on a Sunday. But in the last couple days, apparently Tenacious D, Jack Black, and Kyle Gass were on tour.
So forever and a day, this band has not been in my rotation like ever. Never, ever. I'm not a Jack Black guy, and I never knew what the other guy's name was. I would always just say the other guy in Tenacious D.
I think he goes by that, actually. Yeah, so they're doing a concert, and Kyle apparently in a moment where he's trying to rile up or win over the crowd, I'm assuming.
So Jack Black asked the question, "What do you wish for?"
Oh, okay.
So that's what set up the comment.
And Kyle said that the shooter wouldn't miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said that.
Which, if I just heard that part, I don't know that I would have been shocked because I've been on X in the last few days. And tons of people were saying that. Tons of people who would be opposed to him politically were saying things like that. There's obviously X, formerly Twitter, is a very extreme place as far as the rhetoric goes. And so you're gonna see more stuff like that. But I don't know if I was desensitized to it. So when I immediately read this, I was like, oh, that's what he said? But apparently Jack Black didn't take this too well, apparently, because he immediately canceled the rest of their tour. And Kyle Gass came out and apologized the next morning. But like, what's the status of their group? Are they done? What? It seems weird. He seems like he got canceled.
For me, I think that it really depends on Jack Black, because it was him that canceled it, and he canceled it. I don't know if he canceled it before Kyle released his statement, or if Kyle released his statement and he still canceled. But I have multiple thoughts around.
Yeah, hit me with them, because I'm curious to what you think. I have a feeling cynical Cody and capitalist Cody are going to make an appearance here.
They will. So part of me is like, okay, so you guys literally have made movies and music that show and demean the former president and do extreme things towards the former president, Donald Trump. And so, like, this is not out of the blue. And, like, so I don't know why you are now being like, oh, we got to cancel the tour. You all have been using this rhetoric. You all have been doing this. I also feel empathy towards Kyle because, like, you make a weird question and you try to be off the cuff funny. Mm-hmm. And 95% of the situations, nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, listeners. As people who do radio and podcast, you can get yourself in trouble by just trying to be funny, which, to be clear, I think that's what Kyle Gass was attempting to be.
Yes. And I mean, that's literally the whole point of Tenacious D is to be funny and make music. So that's them. I honestly think that Jack Black really wasn't that outraged and hit by this out of the blue. I think that he read the writing of the room, the temperature of the room at this point, which is you be respectful about this guy at this moment because of the assassination attempt. And that the best damage control is just to put out a statement saying we're stopping the tour. I think it was for financial reasons that they can get back together and tour again and continue to make money. But right now, the political climate, that joke definitely was used at the wrong time, in which Kyle apologized and said, I was making a quick comment. I didn't think about it before it left my mouth. I'm sorry. Like, I don't feel that way. Yeah, I'm not here for Jack Black being flabbergasted and being outraged at his bandmate and not addressing the elephant in the room, which is he, as much as any Hollywood figure, has been very vocal and outspoken and used more intense rhetoric towards Donald Trump. So are you going to backdate an apology for that as well? Because you probably should, if what Kyle said had you all outraged and in arms.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. Let me tell you what he said. This is from Jack Black's statement on Instagram. I was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. After much reflection, I no longer feel it is appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour, and all future creative plans are on hold. I'm grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. So my issue with this is I have several issues. One, it's just a dumb joke. It's low-hanging fruit. Everybody was making that joke.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on. One, I mean, that's stupid. Be better. If you want to be funny, be better. Two, it is everybody. There was so many people saying that online. And for Jack Black to completely just stop their tour in its tracks for that, I just thought that was sort of weird, given what you said, given that, well, their rhetoric and their stance towards conservatism or republicanism and Donald Trump specifically has been pretty severe
and open.
And maybe it's in the guise of trying to be funny, I guess. But my point is like, I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. And Jack Black's reaction makes me think we're not getting the whole story. Like that there's something else going on. Like maybe they were already not getting along. I don't know.
And that could quite well be. And that would be, hey, this is a good way to save face for both of us. And I'll scapegoat you.
Yeah. If this will be the thing I wanted to say from the beginning. This is a big if. If Jack Black really is at a point where he says, hey, listen, the rhetoric around all of this is kind of what causes these things to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I think we should all kind of examine the way we speak and the way we talk about this, because I think what has happened is we have fooled ourselves into thinking because of social media, because we can say whatever we want, because we can say extreme things. Like it used to be, to say an extreme thing when we were kids, you had to do it in the midst of other people, and the chances of getting punched in the face were real, right?
Yeah.
We no longer have that anymore. We can just say whatever we want to say, and I think we convinced ourselves that our words don't carry as much weight, that we can just say things and it doesn't matter anymore. But actually, it still does. People still read our words. It still forms their thinking. And in some cases, when people may not be mentally stable, it leads them to do drastic things. So for instance, in this case, if you keep referring to someone as a future dictator or a future Hitler or whatever, which, like, look, I don't like the guy that much as a person. He seems a little rough around the edges for me. He's not very nice. But calling him that is over the line. It's extreme, because it's okay if you think he could be a future dictator or a future Hitler. Like, I get you can come up with that opinion, and you might have facts and say, well, it just seems like the trajectory. That's fine, but understand that that carries weight. And when we say things like that, it'll be fuel to people who don't have the inhibitions that we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, the big thing is, like you said, our rhetoric sometimes just builds up and builds up. And I can even point out to like myself that like just the divisiveness around this situation alone like has me on edge whenever anyone mentions anything political. And I'm like, I just don't want to even deal with this. So like I kind of shut off and shut down. And that's someone that has significant mental health training and coping skills.
Yeah.
Like I have a high resiliency rate, and yet this topic and the discussion around it has me like close to meltdown mode whenever it begins. I also think that it's important to remember, going back to Kyle's comment, that these comments are made and we don't know the heart of what is behind them. Mm-hmm. But when you see it in black and white or you hear it, it's real easy to think the worst and to run with the worst. And it's then real easy to feel like everything's the worst that's happening in our world right now. And right now, honestly, most things aren't that bad. Literally, the other half of X that isn't talking about this, they're talking about college football. That's what they're talking about. And honestly, the worst thing that has happened to me this week is my stocks tanked today. And it's probably because of the political rhetoric and discourse that's happening right now in the country, that there's instability there. But literally, that is the worst thing that's happened to me. There's been a lot of good things that have happened and a lot of, this is life.
I would just like to point out, this is not Enron level losses. We're talking less than a share of certain things.
Some of those things used to be sky high in price.
It's Cody's retirement package.
It is $10 at a time.
Yeah, I guess in closing, first of all, I agree with everything you said. And I agree with like even talking about it. I knew we wanted to address it just slightly here at the beginning. And we're pastors. Our job is to literally, with every person we come across, to show them that they're valued and loved, right?
Yes.
That's kind of a simple way of our job. And yet I have great anxiety to even come talk about this into a microphone. You know what I'm saying? Like, to people who I know are going to be kind to us, like our listeners like us. But even talking about this, there is an anxiety about it. And I think it's because we know, you and I, that words do carry weight. And so we want to be very careful. But we figured we'd address it because, Jack Black addressed it. And yeah, I'm not so sure about his motivations. But I think what we can all agree on is violence is bad. And that maybe our rhetoric has had a hand in this. Let's all just say, let's be soft. We can disagree, but let's tone down the severity of our language.
And if you are having thoughts of self-harm or harming someone else, please seek help.
Yes. All right. Now we can move on to the movie game. We're going to play the movie game with our guest coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
You are listening to Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, here we go. Jackson, is your mic dialed in?
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
It's definitely dialed in.
Sibilance.
All right, we're back here. Jackson Chauncey has joined us. By the way, I don't think I ever said this is the Pop Culture Pastor podcast.
We launched right into a heavy topic and stayed there, and then we're like, okay, now the show begins.
As children of the 80s, we have that mentality of breaking in with breaking news into broadcast television. So we never even really identified ourselves. I'm Stone Phillips. And he's Tom Brokaw. And we just know this is Pop Culture Pastor Dave Cody, and Jackson's here to play the movie game. It's the game taking the world by storm. It's actually the Rotten Tomatoes game, but
It is the bane of my existence.
we use Rotten Tomatoes profiles, and there actually is a game. They have their own game, but we don't play by their rules. We made up our own rules.
It's what most people do with Uno.
Yeah. All right, Jackson, here's what we're going to do. Have you listened to us play the game?
I have not. I'm coming in cold.
You haven't listened to any of the last 3 pods?
He's behind.
Get out.
Yes.
Get out right now. No.
I'm revoked.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. I am holding 3 movie profiles in my hands. They're Rotten Tomatoes profile. One is usually a mid-range, one is a rotten one, and one is a certified fresh movie.
All
Okay?
right.
And what's going to happen is you're going to get to go first, and you're going to select which one you think you would like to solve. After you select that movie, you will have level 1 a chance to guess from just the tomato score and the year. Okay. Level 2, if you can't guess it after 1, will be the second billed actor. Level 3 is the audience score. Level 4, the first billed actor. And finally, level 5, the blurb.
Dave likes it when we get to the blurb because he gets to use his movie voice.
Level 5, we just tell you the title.
That happens sometimes, occasionally. Okay, so are you ready?
As I'm going to be.
Do not use your phone, Cheater McCheatington.
No, hands off the phones, gentlemen. Okay, here are the Rotten Tomato scores for your 3 movies you get to choose from. I'm holding a 9% Rotten Tomato score movie, a 74% Rotten Tomato score movie, and an 89% Rotten Tomato score. So the mediocre one's actually on the upper end.
It is.
It's just out of the certified fresh zone.
Give me that 9.
He's going to go with the 9%.
Yeah!
Jackson
Yeah!
Chauncey,
You got this.
connoisseur of bad movies.
Indeed.
Okay. Level 1, the tomato score, you already have at 9%. This movie came out in 2007. It's a really bad movie. Would you like to guess?
Let's go level 2.
Okay. Well, I like it. Quick decisions. Level 2, the second billed actor is Thandie Newton. Thandie Newton.
Let's go with Truth About Charlie.
That's a pretty deep cut guess, but no. Level
Okay.
3, the audience score. This is bonkers to me as I'm looking at this. The Rotten Tomato score, critic score 9%, the audience score 53%.
People love it.
Mission Impossible 2.
That's a good guess, but no.
I'm running out of Tandy Newton movies.
Level 4, this one might open the door a little bit. Level 4, the top billed actor, Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy. So we've got 9%.
Norbit.
It is Norbit.
Yeah!
Nailed it. Jackson coming in strong with a level 4 hit. That's not bad for your first time.
Yeah.
Not bad. Cody, the movies left are a 74% and an 89%.
Oh, this could be bad. 89. Let's go for
He's
it.
going 89. I will hold the other one just in case we need a tiebreaker. Level 1, Cody, 89% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, came out in the year 2000.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's like his standard guess. But that's the first one was pretty good. I don't know if that's about the right year, but it's not that movie. But I think it's a decent guess. I'm just going to say that every time you guess Pirates of the Caribbean. Level 2, the second billed actor, Helen Hunt.
Oh.
Helen Hunt, who we're going to talk about later in this episode. Year 2000. It's an 89% certified fresh.
Pay It Forward.
It is not Pay It Forward.
Son of a gun.
All right, but look, this narrows it down. Like, how many movies was Helen Hunt really in 2000 or later?
I really don't think she was in movies after 2000.
Level 3, the audience score, a little bit lower, 81%. But just guess another Helen Hunt movie.
Yeah.
The only other
that
Helen
easy.
Hunt movie I have in my head is the one we're reviewing, and it's not that one.
Well, you can guess it.
I think I got this if he gives up.
Twister.
It is not Twister. All right, level 4, the first build actor. This ought to send it. And would tie with Jackson. Are you ready?
Oh.
The first build actor is Tom Hanks. 2000, 89% critical score. Helen Hunt and Tom Hanks.
Castaway.
It is Castaway.
Yeah,
Nailed
I totally didn't have it.
it. So we go to the tiebreaker score, or the tiebreaker movie profile. All right, the way this works is the first person to raise their hand up off the table, I will call on once you feel like you've got it. Okay.
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
It is a 74% critical score. The movie, or the movie, the year is 2002. 2002, so early aughts.
Okay.
Cody is going to go ahead and take a guess.
Signs.
Oh my gosh. It is Signs!
Did I
Nailed it!
I was just about to say, if he's wrong, does he get to guess more?
This is the first time in history that someone got it off the first level.
That is amazing. That was amazing. That was an incredible
Why'd your
guess.
phone fall out of your pocket?
All right, so Cody,
That was the only movie I could think of in 2002.
did you actually know that came out in
I
2002?
do, because my wife has made me rewatch it recently in the past month. So,
Wow.
yes.
That was pretty good. Well done. Well done. Okay. This is a Be Kind Rewind episode, so we'll be right back to talk about the movie Twister. All right. Welcome back. Dave and Cody here with Jackson.
Welcome to the suck zone. And Dave, you can now refer to me as the extreme for the rest of this podcast.
Oh, man. I forgot how many little moments this movie had that are actually kind of funny, and just how well diverse this cast is. We'll get into all that, I'm sure. We are here to do a Be Kind Rewind to talk about the 1996 blockbuster Twister. This is actually kind of a two-part episode because next week we're going to review Twisters.
Plural.
Plural. Lots of them. Just to be clear, there were lots of them in this one too.
There were.
But
Two at once, even.
It was crazy.
we're going to go back to back. So we're doing a Be Kind Rewind on the original this week, and then next week we will review the new one. This movie, a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Jan de Bont, came out May 10th, 1996, cost somewhere in the range of $90 million to make, made nearly $500 million. This was huge.
So they knew how to invest their money wisely. Because I think sometimes studios are like, we're going to pour in $500 million on this, and it makes $70 million.
Yeah.
And so it actually lost $430.
This movie was like second to Independence Day in the summer blockbusters. I mean, that's a pretty big 1-2 punch for the year 1996. And I remember this movie being really, really big. Do you guys remember part of the allure of this movie was right when surround sound was just hitting? Remember they had the intro before the movie started of the cool sounds, like the, you know what I'm talking about?
I think they sold a system to my uncle, and they're like, and we're throwing in Twister. That and
DVD.
Jurassic Park.
As they should.
I remember going to see this movie, and I saw this multiple times in the theater. I went back.
So Dave's the reason it made $500 million.
Well, it was just kind of fun. And especially I want to talk about the sound. I want to give them due because the sound in this movie in the theater was amazing. Do you guys remember that at all?
I did not watch
That was
this
a home
in theaters.
video.
Oh, you guys are so young. So young.
And this was on like TNT every other weekend. And so like it would, like my dad would turn the channel. It would be there. We would get in on the middle of it, watch a little bit and be like, there has to be something else on. Next.
Preview of Cody's review of this movie.
Well, we are
be.
going to discuss how this holds up, but this was an event movie when it came out. And maybe it was just because we live in Tornado Alley that this was an event movie. Maybe it wasn't if you grew up in Florida or somewhere else. I don't know. But I remember when this movie came out, it was a big deal. This had to be Reed Timmer's favorite movie growing up, right?
Potentially.
Reed Timmer, the tornado chaser, we tried to put some feelers out there. And by feelers, I mean I tagged him on X. He did not bite.
Cody and I have met Reed Timmer.
We have.
By met, I mean we're in the same building as.
We're like probably 50 feet away.
Wow. Although you're not allowed to legally now because there's probably a restraining order against you. This movie was written by Michael Crichton. I did not know that.
That sounds right.
He wrote it as a mashup of the classic rom-com His Girl Friday and a PBS documentary about storm chasers that he just happened to across on TV one day.
You know,
Fits.
the now that you say Michael Crichton, yeah, more of this movie's making sense.
In all honesty, this movie, I can't believe this isn't a Bruckheimer movie. It just seems like a Bruckheimer movie.
Jerry should have his fingers on it somewhere.
Did you guys not get that feeling? So
Bruckheimer joint.
many sweeping caravan shots that seem like drones, but they didn't have them back then. So I'm assuming helicopter. Is that what we're talking about here? I don't know how they did it back then.
Or a crane.
There's a Twister Museum in Waukita, Oklahoma, which serves as one of the locations in the movie. That's a real town.
If you go to the salt mines in Hutchison, there's some Twister merchandise. There's a Dorothy and
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah. I often don't understand why there's so many pop culture relics stored in the salt mines.
Because it will not draw moisture and it will last forever.
Well, we need that to last forever, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
There was a spike in meteorology students in the late 90s because of this movie. The University of Oklahoma, which collaborated with this production in particular, saw its meteorology program double from 225 enrolled to 450.
I would have been one of those. Then I saw how much math there's in that.
That's shocking how much we're alike.
Whole lot of math.
So I had a friend in college that was wanting to be a meteorologist, and Storm Chasers, the show, was big at that time. And he's like, what these people are missing is a pastor to ride along with you to make sure that, like, if things go sideways, you can at least have your last rites or whatever. And so, like, we nearly became a storm chasing duo.
Listen, Reed Timmer, if you're looking to add to your team, I think you couldn't go wrong with me or Cody.
Exactly.
If nothing else, we would make your live stream that much more entertaining. Although, mostly I'd be in the back going, ah!
Let me out at the next stop.
So apparently this production, little background for this movie, this production was super, super rough and eventful. There were like crew mutinies. Jan de Bont, who is the director, apparently had to get a talking to from Steven Spielberg, who was a producer, because like part of his crew basically went on strike. They were just like, we're not doing this anymore. Helen Hunt got bashed in the head, got a concussion. Her stunt double broke some ribs because something went wrong. One of the cameramen got hurt because like there was something else went wrong. It just seems like as I was going through the information that's out there in the background of this movie, is he was very passionate. They all say, it's funny, all the actors say that Jan de Bont's incredible. And that he's an amazing director, but that he's so passionate, he can be kind of mean, I guess. And in a 2020 interview with Vulture, Helen Hunt admitted she didn't know she could go through the filming process again, but that this movie, quote, still holds up. She said, I think that's because Jan de Bont didn't rely on a lot of visual effects. He really threw stuff at us, and it looks amazing. Her comments echo those of Bill Paxton, who lobbied for a sequel for years before he tragically died of a stroke at age 61. He said that back in 1995 that there are hardships going on before the film's release. He gave this interview, said there were hardships, but you don't put a story like this on the screen without paying the freight.
I don't even know what that means.
Freight is, well, never mind. Just you got to pay your dues, man.
Absolutely.
Some of us would just say, no pain, no gain, and call it good.
That was a movie.
Yeah.
With The Rock.
And I know they had issues getting, like, the lighting right. Like, of course, they didn't have any clouds and things like that when they were trying to, so they had to do something with some lights and scored some retinas. But
yeah, in particular, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. In fact, they had to shut down shooting for a couple days because they literally blinded them for a couple days. Like, they had to get special eye drops and wear sunglasses for a couple days.
And that's why you haven't seen her since Castaway.
Is it really? Is that why?
I don't know.
It's the only reason. Makes perfect sense.
This movie was nominated for Best Sound and Best Effects at the Academy Awards that year. So if you're planning on dogging on the effects, Cody, as a precursor, just know that at the time these were recognized as good sound and good effects.
Do we know what took it home that year?
We don't.
Yeah.
And we don't care because it's best sound and best effects.
Because it wasn't Twister.
We could look that up, but
we're not going to.
We'll leave that for you, the audience member.
Because, again, only nerds care about that.
This is an interactive podcast.
All right. So let's get into this. What holds up? Jackson, what holds up?
I'm going to go right off of yours and say the effects.
Cody is beside himself right now. He can't believe it. Go on, Jackson.
I've already got contrarian Cody inflamed.
Oscar-nominated effects. Go on.
Yes. I mean, similar to Jurassic Park, it's still a movie where I don't see the strings. I don't go looking for it because I like to enjoy movies, of course, but it still holds up. It's still something that I can go back to, and it hasn't aged poorly. The movie theater scene is one of my favorites. That's what inspired the ride.
Yeah.
And the ride is a good time. I think they've since gotten rid of it, but I was glad I got that in Jaws before they retired both of them. But even when you compare it to something more modern like Into the Storm or Day After Tomorrow, it's not lagging behind to the level that it probably should for the amount of time between the two films.
Yeah. I wasn't put off. Like, sometimes when we go back and do a Be Kind Rewind, the effects can put me off of some of these older movies because I think, boy, that doesn't really hold up. I'm with you. It didn't take me out of it anyways. There were certain ways the tornadoes would move sometimes where I was like, well, all right, that looked kind of cheesy. The way it would like kind of hip shake. Mm-hmm. Seems like some of the tornadoes were hip shaking, and I was like, well, I've seen some tornadoes in my day, but they didn't look like that. But it's a movie.
Well,
and the
you
effects
give
are the
that
effects.
Grace of like they're doing this to make an entertaining movie, even if it's not completely grounded in science. Because if it's completely grounded, we're not having a good time.
Christopher Nolan would have made a tornado like out in the open, and it would have sucked up the whole crew just to get the perfect shot.
Christopher Nolan's not God. It's a force of nature.
I'm telling you, I think that he made a nuclear bomb for Oppenheimer.
He did not. That is not factual. Okay, so the effects, Cody. What's something that holds up for you, or would you like to respond to that, or you respond to it later?
Saving that one. So I'll go with the casting director because they got an excellent cast. Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jamie Gertz was okay. Carrie, Lois, Allen, Jeremy Davies. just in case you don't know who Jeremy is. And then Joey Slotnick.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy. What was his big commercials? He was in some commercials.
He was in some commercials, and was he in Bones as well?
Yeah, he made it big in some commercial that I cannot remember now because I recognized him. But yeah, this movie at the time and then in the future, like, because I don't think anybody knew how big Philip Seymour Hoffman would get. But
yeah.
I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman is an Oscar winner. Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Jamie Gertz, even. These are like huge 80s icons.
Little bit disappointed you left Jake Busey off. You get to see him turn in his chair in the movie.
Yeah.
Carrie Elways, another 80s guy.
Did you pull Alan Ruck?
I
Alan
did say
Ruck?
Alan.
Okay.
And I said Carrie.
Well, you said a lot of first names. So.
Yes, because I'm on a first name basis with them. They also got the grandma from
True Blood?
True Blood, yeah.
And there's several actors that you could I recognized from Bruckheimer movies. Like they were just randomly in there at times, which is another reason why I thought, is this a Bruckheimer movie? But it's not. But they were in there too. I saw a couple of them specifically. His name's Gregory Sporlater. He was like one of the bad guys in The Rock with Nick Cage and Sean Connery. But yeah, the cast is amazing.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, again, you're getting younger Philip Seymour Hoffman before he's super accomplished. Helen Hunt, she's mad about you.
Yeah.
And Bill Paxton. I mean, and then you have one of my all-time favorite guys, Carrie
Elways. Yeah.
Yes, I will never pronounce his last name because I'm like, is it really Elways? I don't know.
It's amazing that he makes his career off of something that he didn't really start off as. So in The Princess Bride, he's the hero.
He's lovable.
He's lovable. He's charming, but he kind of makes a career out of playing this guy that he plays in this movie, who's kind of a dirtbag, but smarmy. He plays the same dude in Days of Thunder. Like they literally could be the same guy.
Turns into the same guy in Saw.
Yeah, like he's made a career off of playing the smarmy guy you're not supposed to like.
And yet I only remember him for The Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Robin Hood Men in Tights is a classic. We should probably rewind that someday. But let's go back to Helen Hunt real quick. Has there anyone who's been more iconic in a decade, like the 80s, for instance, or the 90s, that has done less? Like, she just wasn't in everything. Helen Hunt has been an actress who's not about quantity, but it's about quality, because she's absolutely iconic. She was in the 80s movie. And when I first remember her is a movie called Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That's the same name of the Cyndi Lauper song, but it was her and the girl from Sex and the City,
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yes, yeah, but very young. And Helen Hunt, I remember guys kind of fell in love with Helen Hunt, and it's interesting because Helen Hunt's not.
And Shannon Doherty, rest in peace.
Oh, she was in that too?
She was.
Wow, yeah. Helen Hunt was just. She's like an all-American woman, I think.
She is, and so. Castaway, we mentioned that during the movie game, and I guessed Pay It Forward. They were released in the same year.
Were they?
I'm so disappointed though that I didn't get that on that one.
You have a much higher opinion of Pay It Forward than most.
Whoa, that's slanderous.
I think you can't say that about Pay It Forward. I mean, it's literally a movie that was trying to cause us to be better.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I just think Rotten Tomatoes did.
Oh, well.
They might have.
Yeah.
They're fascist.
Okay. You said the cast. We talked about Helen Hunt. Should we mention Bill Paxton?
When should we not mention Bill Paxton?
I think Bill Paxton, that's another one of those celebrity deaths that made me sad. And there's a common theme when they actually get to me a little bit. I talked a little bit about it with Chris Farley, but this one even more so with Bill Paxton is he's in a lot of my favorite movies. He's my favorite part of a lot of my favorite movies. So in Weird Science, when he's
Chet.
Wyatt's older brother, Chet, he's amazing in that movie. That's kind of where I first experienced him. Aliens, the sequel to Alien, where he plays the overconfident space marine who by the end of the movie, before he dies, is kind of whiny and scared.
Good old Hudson.
Yeah. And he's just, of course, Tombstone, where he's Morgan Earp. But he's always he's in a lot of my favorite movies, but he's never the guy, which is interesting. But yeah.
He's in 5 seconds of the Patrick Swayze classic Next of Kin.
That's a pull.
And
that's
Terminator.
That's something that happened. And True Lies.
He's in a lot of those movies for 5 seconds and then out. Predator 2.
And I'd also like to point out that Jamie Gertz was a big deal in the 80s.
And I'm ashamed you all aren't mentioning Titanic.
Oh.
Was he in that?
Yeah, he's part of the interviewing crew.
He's not in the second tape of Titanic, Cody. We've said you watched the second tape.
I'm going to sort of piggyback off the piggyback here. The thing that holds up for me is Philip Seymour Hoffman is amazing. Even when Philip Seymour Hoffman's not Philip Seymour Hoffman yet, right? Even when he's the comic relief, he was awesome. So here he's playing basically the same character he played in Leap of Faith with Steve Martin. He's sort of a member of the crew who's kind of an oddball. He's kind of just a weird cat. He's making, inappropriate, flirtatious advances towards Bill Paxton's fiance in that movie. But it's like all charming. It doesn't come off as slimy because that's how good of an actor he is. He could make a person like that lovable. He had this amazing drinking apparatus in the truck where it was like up in the visor, but the straw hung down and he would take a drink while he was driving, which I just think we could do that today. Why hasn't that become custom in cars?
Because what you might put in the drinking apparatus.
There's TV dad Cody with a life lesson.
So yeah, I'm piggybacking on the piggyback, and I'm just gonna say the cast, but with specific, like I just wanted to pay heed to some of these amazing people in this movie. What else is something that holds up for you?
Well, we've took the cast away from me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the tornadoes themselves. So let's go with steak and eggs.
Oh man, that scene's great, isn't it?
Delicious.
It looks good too. She's making the steak and the eggs in those cast iron pans. Yeah, that reminded me of my grandma. That's how my grandma cooked.
We saw it at the Alamo, and that was one of the menu offerings was Aunt Meg's steak and eggs. So
What?
That was the route I had to go. It was quite the production. They threw the cow during that scene, and they had a small fire effect, and it was a good time.
The Alamo Draft House is just an amazing place to see a movie.
I would have said R.I.P., but I guess they've been resurrected at least somewhat. So
Yeah.
Sony.
Cody, what's something that holds up for you?
The dynamic or the relationship, chemistry between Bill and Helen. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have believed it if you told me they dated in real life and got married, Cody. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right, because how good they were portraying on screen. And the whole time I'm like, get off my screen, Jamie Gertz. Get out of here.
It's weird. I think they're so good that Jamie Gertz playing her character, like people, she's nominated and even wins like some of the Razzies that year. The worst performance.
Sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, and I don't think Jamie Gertz is a bad actress. She was a good actress. She was in many, many things and got acclaimed for many things she was in. So it was interesting, but I think you're right. I think it's because they were so good on screen. From the moment he shows up the first time, Bill Paxton, to get her to sign the divorce papers, the viewer's like, she ain't signing those. They're not getting divorced.
I think it's the accent people have a problem with.
Oh, Jamie Gertz's accent? Yeah. Is she supposed to be Oklahoman?
I hope not, because she didn't sound it.
But
she went a little further south than Oklahoma.
Yeah, she's doing some weird Southern type accent.
And like the whole time I'm rewatching this, I'm like, I'm Team Helen Hunt. Just get off my screen.
Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? I'm telling you, Helen Hunt was America's sweetheart.
She was.
And she looks fantastic in this movie. I remember that from seeing the movie when I was a young man. That like she's great in this movie.
So Team Helen Hunt, and like I said, their chemistry, it was believable and definitely carried some scenes in the movie. So yes.
Was this during her Mad About You days? Is this
I
concurrent?
feel like it would have had to been.
Yeah, this is probably peak Helen Hunt years at this time. So yeah,
yes, it is during Mad About You.
Yeah, she was on fire in this span of time. Again, not doing a ton of things though. It's interesting. She's interesting, and she could cross over. Like unlike the Friends stars, she could do movies and be successful. Jen Aniston excluded. You made a face, Jackson. Do you disagree?
We're disputing Matt LeBlanc's Monkey Baseball movie.
No, there's no disputing that. That's amazing. Okay, what else holds up? I love this. This is like a 20th century trope too, I think. I love the presentation of Bill as the extreme, where he just knows which way the wind is going to blow. He's like a storm chasing natural. That just seems like it was a trope.
He's a ringer.
Seems like a trope of the 80s and 90s. And the scene where they're explaining that to Jamie Gertz, his fiance, and he's like picking up the dirt. And I'm just like, what could that dirt possibly be telling him about where the storm's going?
Everything, Dave.
So ridiculous.
It's probably electrically charged. And he's like, oh, it's going to be pushing that way.
It was so ridiculous, and I loved every second of it. I'm a sucker for that trope. Absolutely adore it.
Well, I think something needs to be said is that this is one of the few not made-for-TV tornado movies as well. Like this. Yeah,
this isn't a common natural disaster that gets portrayed on big screen.
Well, exclusively, at least, because you have those. I don't think it's in 2012, but Day After Tomorrow, there's tornadoes in it. But this is a tornado-centric movie, so it's for us in Tornado Alley. It's this our movie.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's kind of what I meant by saying that this felt like an event movie when it came out here, because we're around this. This is we identify with so much of this movie. The old news reports, like when they all had their TVs on late at night watching weather reports, I think there's no one that grew up here that can't identify with that. Like,
still do it, buddy.
You still watch the network television? You don't like...
well, I mean, I log on to YouTube and see the streaming of the network television.
We follow Doug Hetty on Facebook.
Douglas Hetty, who is our local weatherman and maybe the best weatherman in the whole world.
We probably should have got him on the
Shout
pod.
out to Doug Hetty.
I just remember being excited when Alan Ruck says it's either Topeka or Wichita, and I was like, I know those places.
Yeah, that's
my representation.
Cody, what else holds up?
I honestly don't know if I have anything else that's like outstanding that holds up. So I'll pass.
Speaking of our local celebrity weatherman, Doug Hetty, I had forgotten that Bill Paxton's character, that was the whole conceit of where his character was, that he had left the storm chasing game.
To be a weatherman.
To be on-air weatherman.
And Carrie likes his weather reports.
I guess you have to spit on the ground when you say weatherman, too.
Yeah. I think the little bits of comedy or stress relief in this movie, as I will call them, it all just works. I'm sure that's a combination of the script and the actors and all that, but even the cows flying, which, the special effects don't quite hold up on that, but the way they respond to things flying around, like cows, there's another cow, it's just delivered by the actors in a way that made me laugh, and I dug it.
It was the same cow, Dave.
It was the same cow. That's right. All right. What doesn't hold up? Jackson, do you have anything that doesn't hold up?
It maybe isn't so much of a holdup as a gripe I have with the movie that there's like 15 people on Helen Hunt's team and they all make it through it. I don't know that we needed that. Really, the only people that get taken out is Carrie Elways and his poor driver. Who, I mean...
No, it wasn't just them. It was their whole squad. There's multiple vehicles that get sucked up in that scene.
They lead it into the Twister.
Like, there's a whole... This is on my list, too, so I'm going to add on. There's a whole lot of swelling music and celebrating after we just watched an entire Storm team that they knew the people on die horrible deaths.
Because they were in it for the money, not the science.
It's just weird. I would have think that would have affected them just a little bit more than it did.
Well, in the movie theater scene, I thought we were going to lose Jeremy Davies. He's hiding in his truck, but they have to make sure they go back and get him. Mm-hmm. And then I believe he's named Preacher. I could be wrong. He gets the cut across the head in the same tornado.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, would we be really impacted if we got rid of a couple of these people, raised the stakes a little bit? You know,
or at least have them hospitalized.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you kill off one of them, this was kind of my problem with Carrie Elways' character and his driver and whoever else of his team gets sucked up into that tornado, is I would think that would derail their ambition, because that's all this is. It's not like, look, the script calls for them to do this because it's like good versus evil. And all of a sudden the tornado takes on this like weird, like character-like, human-like statistics, right? There's a scene.
Oh, don't you be stealing what I'm about to say, Dave.
Where Joe's aunt says, "You gotta stop it, Joe."
Oh, you stole it.
Is that it? Well, it ties in.
And it doesn't. It's a whole separate thing.
Well, what were you going to say about it?
Like... the Twisters are following Helen Hunt, and she can actually stop Twisters. You said Christopher Nolan isn't God and cannot make Twisters.
No.
Helen Hunt is being told, you can stop it. You can.
That's my problem. We're going in the exact same direction.
I know, but that is a whole nother point,
it's
though.
Jaws the Revenge, but with tornadoes.
Yes. That is exactly the perfect way to put it. And... yeah, the tornadoes are presented as a human-like menace that must be stopped, but it's a force of nature. You can't stop a tornado. It was just a weird thing, and yeah, I guess in the real world, if you just watched a team of storm chasers that you knew, maybe you didn't like them all that much. You were competing with them, but you just watched them die horrible deaths. I would think that would be the end of your chase.
Oh, and it's killed with a capital K because the driver gets that. I guess it's a girder or something through him, and then they get thrown into the air. And then, of course, like all cars do, upon impact with anything, explode.
Well, we're never going to know the answer to the question of would the chase continue unless Reed Timmer were here. And we could just straight up ask him. So theoretically, Reed, if a rival storm chasing team died to horrible deaths right in front of you, would you continue the chase?
I think that they paused their chase after Tim
Samaras.
Yes.
Twist X.
After his team suffered deaths, that they paused their chasing the next couple days.
They were completely wiped out.
Wait,
This happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
El Reno.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I guess they got stuck on a bad piece of road, couldn't move, and tornado went right over them and killed the entire team.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea.
Yes.
If you see what the car looked like after the fact, I mean, there was no middle ground.
Like, it was a heavy duty truck. Like, it ripped the Hemi in the engine, all that stuff straight out of that Dodge.
Wow.
Well, and if you watch Storm Chasers, he was always kind of the one in the background, like those silly kids, you know.
You got to be safe.
When Reed's going right into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's amazing. I did not know that. Okay, question for you. Here's the introduction to my first thing that doesn't hold up from the very beginning of the movie. Question. Do you think there's any documented tornado incident where someone was sucked out of their storm cellar?
Yes, but not that storm cellar. Especially once the daughter and mom and dog all survived.
I'm going to tell you, I Googled this. I did some research. I could find no evidence that anyone has ever been pulled by a tornado out of a cellar or a basement or anything. Now, several documented instances of someone being pulled out of a house that didn't have a basement. They were hiding in their bathroom. The roof got ripped off. In fact, just recently, those big tornadoes that hit around Omaha and in Omaha, 2 guys got sucked out of their house when a tornado with 136 mile per hour winds reduced their house to rubble, and they survived.
Well, I was hoping this would come up because that scene's always bothered me because I'm like, why didn't he just go deeper into the
why is he trying to hold the door open?
And then it
closed?
Was, okay, what happened because mom's not in the rest of this movie. They bring the aunt in, and I'm like, did mom get sucked out right after him? Did this sacrifice ultimately mean anything? Was it completely pointless?
Whatever happened to mom, it hit the cutting room floor. I'll bet there is in the original script, you find out what happens. I'm assuming she couldn't deal with the loss of her husband and led a hard life and maybe
what
passed
happened
away
to
before
Toby
her time.
is the real question. How did Toby process everything?
Yes.
Toby the dog, who looks suspiciously like Toto from The Wizard of Oz.
I don't know how suspicious. I think it was quite intentional. But
Very much so.
Jackson, do you have anything else that doesn't hold up?
Am I going to get a turn?
You did.
I did not.
You piggybacked on.
thought
I didn't even get to elaborate
there.
on that point.
Cody, do you have anything?
The
you'd
script's
like to-
trash.
The script is trash?
The script is trash. The story lines are not great in it. The dialogue's clunky in parts. You're lucky and blessed that Philip Seymour Hoffman, Bill Paxton, and Helen Hunt are there to carry your script.
there's not enough Scorsese in your tornado movie.
There's not. And I mean, literally, you guys pointed it out about Aunt Meg saying, only you can stop this tornado. You got to go.
Yeah, I will admit that scene is rough.
Literally, their choices of what they have the characters do, like, it struggles with what type of film it's trying to be. Because you pointed out that Crichton wrote it based off of a rom-com and a documentary he watched. And I feel like they tried to force the rom-com bit, and then, well, this is actually about the tornadoes. And then it's about the science of tornadoes, but it's not about that. And it doesn't really flow that well.
People don't make coherent decisions in my natural disaster movie.
They don't, but also they say the worst dialogue ever.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It wasn't good.
I've used the worst line in the script. What else do you got?
I mean, if I had to go like scene by scene, I could probably point out stuff, but
Oh, you didn't write it down.
Oh,
No.
so it's bad script, but you only had one thing.
no, the Aunt Meg thing is a big thing. Most of the dialogue Carrie Elways says in his team, it's like, really? This is what you got for them. They're supposed to be the big bad. Oh, this is the evil team. And you don't give them jack diddly squat to say.
They're
Cody.
very two-dimensional. I will back you
The
up on
days of sniffing the dirt are over.
So
that. It's the thrill of the chase, Cody.
it's not great.
All right. Do you trademark or copyright testing equipment? Is that a thing that you do? I was very confused by that when Bill Paxton shows up and he realizes that the other guy has the same kind of...
You can put a patent out without having a full product.
Well, I mean, like, but for equipment that's literally meant to like try to monitor something. I don't know. I just thought I thought that was weird. Something you're not going to make money on. I assume they wouldn't make money on that. You're just trying to monitor a tornado's inner workings, right?
If he filed a patent, he has beef.
And by the way, it doesn't even work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't even work. But that's a storyline that kind of gets lost.
Who knows? The dot 3 might have worked if they hadn't been horribly destroyed.
Yeah. I will piggyback on... I just thought of another clunky piece of dialogue and acting. And it's the scene when the fiance, Jamie Gertz's character, goes, well, is there an F5?
Yes.
And everyone stops eating and stares at her like she just said Voldemort's name.
Like it's the finger of God, Dave.
Like, what? Everyone's heard of an F5 tornado if you live around these parts, and you don't act like that when someone mentions it. That was weird.
And, I mean, literally, her fiance is a weatherman.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma.
Right. They clearly don't know each other that well.
I'm questioning this whole relationship.
Jackson, what else doesn't hold up? You might not have any more, and that's okay if you don't. I'm sure Cody has more.
I guess I'm a cheap thrill because it works for me.
We need that on the show to balance out Cody. Because cynical Cody is in the house today.
I am.
And he's going to tell us his next thing that doesn't hold up about this movie.
The special effects.
You don't think the special effects hold up?
They don't age well.
Well,
and
I mean, okay.
Even then, like the cows being super stiff.
Have you ever seen a cow?
I have.
They're not limber.
Their legs move, especially if they're flying. But with that being said, like the amount of vehicles that get picked up, not only sucked into the tornado, they go sky high. They don't even just stop like a few hundred yards away. It's like 2 miles away. This tanker truck lands. It doesn't explode at first, and then boom, it explodes, and somehow we drive through it.
Are you anti-movie magic?
Cody's not enjoying the magic of the movies.
A bit of a wet blanket tonight, Cody.
Look, so I will start, but I think he's being a little too harsh, but I will back him up a little bit and say there's lots of cartoonish things that happen in this movie. There's way too many explosions. Sometimes
so many explosions
when really they would just crash and then all the gas would leak out. It's the gas tanker being sucked out up into the tornado and then being thrown down and then immediately exploding on impact was just eye roll inducing. And then they drive through it, which also was eye roll inducing. It was like, this isn't Days of Thunder. That wasn't a 200 car going 200 miles per hour that has clearly vacated the area. The wreckage would still be there.
And like that amount of fuel combusting, I think that your Dodge is getting melted a little bit, suffering some damage.
Yeah. So there's several cartoonish things happening there. Something that didn't hold up for me, and this can go into the plot holes or the cartoonishness of it all, was she has this revelation about how to make Dorothy fly, specifically the little sensors.
Yep.
And this revelation is to use aluminum cans to fashion these little wings that they put on the sensor. And I'm just like, y'all are scientists. Yeah, this never occurred to you? Like, we had buzz bombs in the 80s. This is literally what the fireworks engineers had this figured out long before this. You're going to tell me they wouldn't have understood that, oh, yeah, by the way, putting little wings on them that, would cause it to go up in the air when hit with the wind? Yeah, they didn't figure that out. That was wild to me.
So I'll piggyback off that.
Oh, we're in a rhythm now.
We are. So you see several times, these guys are constantly in the middle of the twisters. Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton nonstop in the middle of it. If you have ever been to a tornado site after it's been hit by a tornado, it is super dirty. Everything's dirty. Helen Hunt, throughout the whole movie, gets a little blob of mud behind her ear. That is as dirty as she gets.
There's one scene when they're in the gully when they get stuck under the bridge. Remember that? She's completely caked in mud after that scene.
She's wet. She's not muddy. And they've been in a tornado where there's sharp objects, even little splinters of wood flying at 100 plus miles an hour would shred you. You would have cuts. You would have scrapes. Bill Curtis, former legendary A&E guy / dude from Kansas, Independence, Kansas. He was stuck in the tornado that hit Topeka in the 50s or 60s. And he said he was picking splinters out of him for a year. Yeah. A year.
Let's just put this all in a big bubble because I know we could go on all night for this one. But yeah, you can tell Michael Crichton, probably not from Tornado Alley. The writers of this movie from LA, wherever they're coming from, they have a lack of understanding of tornadoes. First of all, they hear about a tornado and then they're like just there. Have y'all ever watched Reed Timmer? They have streamed for like 8 hours and 7 1/4 of them are them driving around in sunny skies trying to get to the storm.
Exactly. Or they get to the perfect storm and then it never formulates into a tornado.
So this movie makes it seem like the state of Oklahoma is the size of Rhode Island. And then, so there was that. And then, the end scene where they use the belts to strap themselves to the thing and they're in the middle of a tornado. Yeah, they'd have been Swiss cheese. They'd have been absolutely disintegrated by debris.
Especially with the farmhouse that just got hit with all the sharp objects.
Yeah, but there is a funny comedic moment there. It's like, who lives here? Farmers.
Literally. Like, I don't know how, I don't know why, but they survive and science wins the day because Dorothy finally works.
Science does win. Okay. Are there any deeper themes we need to discuss here? Does this movie have any deeper themes?
I feel like it's too superficial.
To have a deeper theme?
Like, the only deeper theme I could possibly construct is like the value of close network of friends and family becoming basically a cohesive unit that like you go through these tough times together, and when you finally do get something good happen, it's that much more sweet.
Yeah, the team aspect of them. But the funny thing is though, like there's a scene where the fiance is upset because she's been through several near-death experiences and she just loses it and she says, "You're all crazy," and she's not wrong. Like, no, you are all crazy. If this is how it really was, chasing storms, you're all nuts.
So that also doesn't hold up. Her being a therapist and like her mental health rhetoric.
A reproductive therapist.
Oh,
that's what she was.
So I missed out on that part.
See, Dave just invalidated your entire point.
No, I really didn't because I don't think any of that holds up.
I don't think a doctor in general should be like talking like that anyway.
Well, she didn't know. We didn't know we didn't have cell phone etiquette yet. So she's using the car phone back there, or she's using her. It's a cell phone.
Yeah,
but yeah, she picks up the phone, which like. Why? Why would you? You're literally in a tornado. Nobody was answering that call.
No.
Not even now. No. You're too busy filming. You're not picking up the phone. Like, hey, quit calling me. Put it on Do Not Disturb. We got to film this. It's going to look great on TikTok later. So that's the closest I think they get to a deeper theme. Any themes of human togetherness and all that are absolutely shattered by their lack of caring of the other tornado team dying a terrible death and no mention of it at all.
Oh yeah, like
they're just like, yay, our little sensors flew.
I think there's a dang it or doggone it.
There is.
Bill Paxton shows a flash of anger for like 2 seconds. Frustration of like, why did they listen to me? Now they're all dead. Moving on. That's how they treat it in the movie. Like, that's a horrifying thing they just saw. Right?
It wasn't that traumatic for him, Dave.
Apparently not.
He tried to save him, and Jonas wasn't having it.
They did all they could do.
It is hard for summer popcornish movies, which is what this is, to have a lot of coherent, deeper themes. I would agree with that. Maybe that's not what you're looking for in this anyway.
I feel like my cut of Twister would have had to be like 3 hours long to get all that backstory and character development. And then Cody's is 5 minutes long because everybody dies in the first tornado.
Well, I'm all about reality, Jackson.
Who is your winner of the movie, Jackson?
The audience.
He said that so sincerely. This is a favorite of yours.
Yeah,
Clearly.
absolutely. I mean, this was a movie that I was one of those people that was inspired. Like, I want to go do that. Now, granted, I want to just drive around and look for tornadoes. I don't want to do the math.
He doesn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
I don't want to advance
As soon as I
science.
found out it was all that, I was like, I'll do something else. But I saw this at a time where, I do think tornadoes are beautiful, majestic. I would like to see one before I die. Now, as I've gotten older, obviously it's I have so much more to lose and, stay all the way away from me. But it's a movie that I'll keep with me. It's one I'll go back to every couple years. It's a seminal disaster movie. When I think disaster movie, that I think it was my first round pick in our draft.
Yeah.
So it does everything I need it to, and I know some of the wires are showing now, but I'm also able to say, like, that's not what this movie needs to be. I'm going to eat my bowl of popcorn, watch this movie, bowl of popcorn's gone, movie's over, go about my day.
Yeah. I will say, as someone who has seen a tornado from a distance, all those things you mentioned, wondrous, majestic, wild to look at, force of nature. When it gets closer and you're kind of in it,
Not so wild.
I don't
Not
know
so
that there's
majestic.
I don't know that there's anything scarier than that, because which they actually do kind of capture that in the movie several times when it's clear that they're not going to get out of the way of it. And there's that moment of dread, and that's a very real thing, except for imagine it being deafening, the noise.
Well, that one scene with the jumper, I mean, the spawns randomly around, that was definitely a intense scene. And I saw the tornado hitting the movie theater. That's how I learned about The Shining. I had just seen
that's the movie playing.
Yeah, just seen that little 3-second clip so much more than I ever actually watched that.
By the way, the special effects of that scene absolutely hold up. That scene is amazing.
It works good.
Because it's dark.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you can get away with a lot when it is dark, in which that's the scary thing about tornadoes is they don't just happen when it's daylight.
Yeah. When that screen starts getting ripped apart while the movie's still playing and people are running, that scene's super effective.
I appreciate that compliment. It was okay.
You're welcome.
Cody, who's the winner of the movie?
This movie does not hold that special place for me. Never has. It has always been something that was just always there. Mm-hmm. Like, it was always on. People around me loved it. Like, I had friends that adored this movie. This wasn't that movie for me ever. And I am all about the storms. I love storms, but this hasn't been that movie. And so the winner for me, going into the movie and the winner coming out of the movie, I'm always Team Helen Hunt.
She's amazing.
And even though she has the impossible job of stopping the twisters,
she does. She wins, Cody.
She does. And she does it to the best that anyone's ever done it. So,
after the end of that movie, no one else ever died from a tornado. That's fact.
So what is your twister then, Mr. All About the Storms?
no, I don't have a storm movie except for maybe Perfect Storm. Perfect Storm actually was really good, but it is a completely different storm. Two storms out at sea converging, and
two storms converge in this movie.
Well, they take out Mark Wahlberg, and you don't know how difficult that is.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. Helen Hunt is, like I said, she is America's, she's the real America's sweetheart, not Julia Roberts. And I will die on that hill. Helen Hunt is the real America's sweetheart.
I would have went Sandra Bullock before Julia, but yes.
Sandra Bullock should get some run in that
I would have
category
went
as well.
Eric before Julia.
Don't start with the Roberts battle. Winner of the movie for me is Meteorology. Like, you can't argue with that. That literally people like my age, just a bit older than you guys that loved this movie, thought this makes me want to be in that realm. And not only that, but clearly this movie really influences the art of storm chasing, because Reed Timmer and other famous storm chasers have said in interviews that this movie influenced them as young people. And when Bill Paxton tragically passed away, the tornado chasing community used like their beacons to spell out his initials over the state map.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird memorial, but okay.
I think we just blew Cody's mind there.
You did.
Who is the loser of the movie, Jackson?
Joe's dad. Helen Hunt's dad.
He has a name, man.
Dad.
He was Richard Lineback,
Yeah.
Mr. Thornton. He's a recognizable actor. I've seen him in other stuff. Plays a great redneck.
He couldn't hold on any longer, Dave. He just couldn't.
Wondering though if that was he was trying to figure a way out of that marriage, and he's like, yeah, that'll do. Because I could see no reason for him to hang on to that door. He could have gone deeper into the cellar. He'd already saved the dog. Job done. Now go be with your family.
Yeah, I have no idea why he's trying to hold that storm cellar door shut.
So, true story, my wife, the first time she watched this as a little kid, said that he's stupid. He should be going back into the cellar. And then, like, after everyone else survives from the cellar, she's like, yeah, he would have lived.
Yeah, when I say so, I've actually been in storm cellars like that. Yeah, there's no reason. Let it take the door. It literally doesn't matter. Just get away from it. Unless you're sitting right where he's sitting, you're not going to get sucked up into a tornado.
Can we do the fan fiction that it took her mom too?
Well, what do you have against her mom?
It was just Joe and the dog.
Jackson is having a hard time dealing with the plot hole of Joe's mom.
Also, you're seeing what Jackson actually cares about, which is the dog.
Absolutely.
That's all he really cared about.
That was the most intense part of the movie, and it comes in the first 5 minutes. Are they going to open the door for Toby?
Cody, who's the loser of the movie?
So this one pains me. It's Carrie. Carrie's the loser.
Carrie who?
Elways.
Oh, Carrie. Oh, I was thinking of a girl. I was like, who?
Mulligan?
Yes.
Now why? Why though?
You're going to get it. There's a swath of people whose Carrie fandom probably lies heavily within Robin Hood Men in Tights and Princess Bride. Like, they love the clean, heroic Carrie that's doing comedic things. I'm breaking things as we're doing this.
He's really upset.
I am. And then you give him this role as a bad guy, which I'm like, I don't want to be rooting against Carrie, but I also feel bad rooting for him in this movie, where there's times where I will clearly go against that and will root for the bad guy. Technically, I think Val Kilmer's supposed to be the bad guy in Top Gun. He's not. He's the hero. But Carrie's the bad guy, and then they give him like very little dialogue. They make him two-dimensional, like you said, and the dude's phenomenal at acting. And he's gone on and been villains or bad people in other movies. Jackson mentioned Saw, and he was great in that. He really doesn't stand out in this, and he should, because of the caliber of actor he is. I'm blaming the script, and I'm blaming the casting.
I'm going to push back on that. He serves his one purpose, which is to get Bill back in the game. After that, there's no need for him. What is he supposed to do? Lead some of the team to their death?
He's the foil. He's supposed to be the foil.
He's the plot device to move Bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill's getting those papers signed, and he's back doing weather reports until he sees Jonas.
It's in particular that he's copied his
Design.
measuring machine.
Literally, you could have had me as a little kid, as Carrie's character, and not lost anything.
So Carrie gets to feed his kids with a nice, easy roll, but that's not good enough for you. Are you a Carrie Elways fan?
I am.
I think we can all agree
They
that
misused him.
Carrie plays the part better than you, though. He's very good at being the schmarmy.
He is, but
Guy.
I don't think no one would notice.
He was great in Days of Thunder as Russ Wheeler, the young whippersnapper driver they bring in when Tom Cruise's character Cole Trickle gets hurt.
And so that's another point. He doesn't stand out in this, and it's not him. It's not him on why he's not standing out. And as a bad, in which they do focus on this team at times, there should be standing out. It's the script. And because of the script, Carrie loses. We all lose,
So
really.
you're taking food out of Carrie Elways' kids' mouth because he's not a complex enough character in your tornado movie.
He's not. So fans of Carrie lost out. That's who.
See, we should have had a whole Storm Chaser subplot instead of tornadoes.
We have lost the plot completely.
We have.
We've been derailed completely. My loser of the movie is Jamie Gertz. She
was close second.
She did not deserve to get thrown under the bus for her acting in this movie. I think she was supposed to be kind of a ditzy character in this movie who's out of her element, and I thought she played that fine. She is not someone without a resume. She was in Crossroads, Quicksilver, Less Than Zero, Lost Boys, several TV shows in the 80s. CBS's sitcom Still Standing, ABC sitcom The Neighbors. She's prolific. I don't know. I feel like she gets an unfair shake in this movie.
Or
She took the disintegration of her marriage like a champ, too.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. And she does. She's just like, this was going to happen
I'm just going to
anyways.
go home. Thanks, everybody.
So another point of weird choice with the script. No real reaction at all. I'm just done. I'm out.
It's a trope, though, right? This is the trope. When I see this trope in a movie where the breakup happens and they're like, this was bound to happen. I always think of Ricky Bobby when he comes home and his Cal Naughton's there and he's married to his wife now. And she's like, Ricky, I think you know that this has been going this direction for a long while. And he's like, no, I honestly didn't know that. That's what I thought of when I watched this scene in this movie. Because, yeah, that's a little goofy. It's
a choice.
You literally were engaged. I think she'd be a little upset.
Literally rode in the truck with him to get the paper signed, rode through 2 tornadoes, at least.
Drove towards them.
Yes. And she's like, well, I'm good.
All right. Do you think, Jackson, I'd like your opinion on this because you're such a big fan. What is your anticipation for the new movie after watching this old one? Do you think this is going to be good? I'm a little concerned that it's not a reboot or a sequel, and yet is for some reason using the name.
If you feel it, chase it.
That's a perfect way to end it. That is perfect way. I don't even know what that means.
So I honestly think this one's going to be better than the first.
Okay. It could be. I hope so.
It's got Glenn Powell, and as the president of the Glenn Powell fan club, that's all you really need.
I did not know that.
Second
America's favorite Glenn.
Glenn.
Do you need a vice president?
Yes,
right.
we are taking applications.
All right. I'm going to be campaigning for that. All right. What did you think of Twister? Have you watched it recently? Maybe you should go back and rewatch it before Twisters comes out next week and we review that on the pod. So let us know if you're looking forward to the new one, if you like the old one, where it hits you in your age. Comment on the social media posts for this episode. And of course, listen, it's the summer. Things have gotten a little stagnant, I know. So make sure you're sharing the pod, you're subscribed, you're reviewing the pod. Every little thing helps out. That would help us out a lot. We love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Pop culture.